Hello, and welcome to the Screen Chronicles, everyone. I'm Steve. With me, as always, is my buddy, Cobstone, the Griffin! And today we're talking about episode 7 and 8 of The Boys on Amazon Prime Video. And we're also going to talk about maybe what we think about season 3 and all that fun stuff.
Definitely. So finally, the season of The Boys is wrapped up. Season 8 was the finale, sadly. Yeah, it was a pretty wild ride this season. Saw some things I never thought I'd see.
This is one of those
Yeah, it's just one of those shows. I feel like they really went for the shock value this season, and I'm excited to talk about it. What did you think of the last 2 episodes, Steve?
So, let's give a non-spoiler thought of maybe like the whole season here before we talk about these last 2 episodes.
Okay.
I generally really liked this season. I enjoyed it throughout. At times, I think I enjoyed it more than I did the first season. The first season, there was times where I felt a little bored, but I always felt like the plot was always very tense and driving forward. But this one, there would always be like a new plot thing that would come along, and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. But I never really had that. At the end here, I didn't really have the same sort of setup for the next season. It didn't really seem like it had as a coherent of a plot either to me. We'll talk more about that when we talk about our spoilers here for the last 2 episodes. But I mean, I enjoyed it overall. I would still watch season 3, and I'd still recommend this to someone if they're into like a social political commentary via superhero, TV show kind of thing. If there even is something like that.
I don't know if there's anything else like that. There might be.
What do you think of the whole season, though?
Again, it was a good season. I think it ended. The last couple episodes are just a little bit slower. Some of the plot, got a little fuzzy toward the end. I thought it was kind of headed in one direction. Kind of hoping it would head in one direction, and things kind of got resolved real quick.
I didn't feel like we changed anything. I think you told me this when we were talking on the phone. Like you felt like we were in the same place as we started this season when we ended.
Kind of felt like that.
That's what I felt as well.
Kind of felt like that, yeah. I know there were definitely some things that changed, especially regarding Homelander and how he might be in the next season. But, when you look at the big picture of things, it kind of like...
Yeah, I thought there was definitely going to be a bigger impact on the world, especially where they were
on the world.
Homelander.
Yeah. I thought definitely a big impact on the boys.
Yeah.
Definitely a big impact on the boys, But again, it didn't really feel like the boys were like the really core main part of it, especially in the second half. It seemed to follow kind of Stormfront, Homelander, which, don't get me wrong, I loved watching those scenes. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
It was, dare I say, a little bit underwhelming at the end.
Yeah.
And I want to get into more detail about that when we get into the spoiler talk, because I think there's kind of a reason why I feel like that.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good season, solid season. I'm excited for another season. It made me laugh. It made me go, whoa, crazy. The plot could have been a little better.
Yeah. Would you still recommend this to someone?
Oh, not to anyone, not to everyone. Not to everyone. I would recommend it, to my friends. I know who I would recommend it to. I know who I wouldn't, and that's just based on kind of the vulgarity of it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But to anybody that's into that kind of show, 100% would recommend.
I'd say if you can appreciate South Park, you could probably appreciate this. If you can, and you also like Marvel and DC and all that, and you're not a queasy person. So if you had to give it a number out of 10, what would you give it here?
I'd go solid 7.5.
That's what I'm feeling too, 7.5.
Solid 7.5. I think if you asked me what I thought it was going to be after the first 4 episodes, I probably would have been like 8 or 9.
Same.
Yeah, the last 4 were just a little bit slower. The plots, got a little bit weird.
It just didn't pay off. It didn't pay off for what I felt like it was setting up. And also, just the first season, too, all the implications that the ending that it had, I didn't feel like really mattered this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that. So spoilers here for season 1 and maybe season 2.
Let's just jump into the season 2 spoilers.
Spoiler alert! So when we started out this season, we see Black Noir pretty much just killing all the supervillains or the super terrorists or whatever word you want to use. And that was sort of like the big thing that ended at season 1, was that there was these super terrorists, and it was basically going to be like this war, and that's why, Vought wanted their superheroes involved in the Department of Defense and involved with state governments and things like that. So I felt like it was cool. It was a cool opening with Black Noir, but it just that was the end of the terrorist end. And then we never heard of the Department of Defense thing. We never heard of the superheroes involved with state affairs. That was never brought up. So that big implication that they were sort of trying to fight against that whole season, when it happened, then it had no effect on this season,
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a lot of things like that this season that happened, but then didn't really mean anything. We Compound V, that was a big part of season 1. It was, can we let the people know before it's too late and before they get in the government and all that? They didn't, and then they finally released it this season, and I mean the corporation just denied it, and it went away. Like no one cared.
Yeah.
And
don't get me wrong, I know they're trying to make a point with that.
Yeah.
It's
probably
it just
a commentary.
like they were heading to a really big, high stakes situation that I was kind of hoping for. Kind of hoping it would go that way, but it didn't. With the whole, using Compound V to create a new Nazi army.
That too, yes.
That was. I was kind of excited to see how far that was going to get. That plane was going to get, and then okay, how are they going to get out of this?
I was hoping that was how the season was going to end. No matter what, that there would be this new soup army leading Stormfront's way. It's obviously not what I want for the world or anything, people. I'm just saying I thought that's what I wanted, though, for the show. Because it would really put the boys in a tough spot again for the next season as far as...
And it would put the soups...
Yeah.
It would drive the soups to pick a side too,
Exactly.
Which kind of like how some of them did here at the end of
the season,
episode 8. But it was kind of an exciting idea of where the show was headed, and it didn't get to that point, and we'll talk about why in a second. I don't think season 1 or season 2 were perfect, but man, were they memorable and funny, and this kind of show doesn't have to be perfect with the plot. I guess it's not the kind of show I'm watching for an amazing storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's definitely some beats in the finale that we'll talk about here in a sec that I was just like come on, there's a way around this.
Yeah.
Before we do that, though, let's talk about a little bit about 7 here, because to me 7 also had some parts in it I was just like, what? And we sort of open up with Lamplighter. They're trying to get him to testify, and meanwhile, Butcher is also trying to blackmail a guy, and the senator, she's working with them and everything. And you're like, oh, so maybe this is going to go to trial and all that. But eventually, though, Lamplighter, him and Huey break into Vought, which to me was just
what did they do before that, though?
They were watching some adult films, and it was hilarious.
Based on the 7.
Based on the 7. So, and I think I read it was on a meme, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw on a meme that
memes are 100% true. 100%.
Yeah. But the lead writer, and I think he directs too, or I don't know if he produces, but Eric Kripke, he said that in this meme, he said that they actually filmed real adult scenes for those scenes. And I was just like, that's just like definitely something the boys would do.
Yeah.
And they're so funny too. My favorite was when after Homelander is announcing that Starlight has turned on the 7 and they've locked her up, and he's announcing it in front of the crowd, and Stormfront is trying to rally everyone behind her Nazi regime kind of thing. And then all of a sudden Homelander's and that's why Stormlight, she's locked up or something.
Or Starlight, yeah.
Yeah, Starlight. And it cuts to Huey, and Huey's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, or something like that. And you think it's because he's watching this
Right.
on the news.
Right.
And then it cuts and it shows he's watching this adult scene from one of the movies. And it's like the funniest, this is the funniest line that the guy is saying.
What did he say?
Like, come on, I can fit it all in.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He says something like, we can't watch this during the daytime or something.
He's like, we can't watch it's daytime.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Classic boys. But do you remember how this episode opened? It was like a huge commentary, like the very first scene.
No, what?
There's just some random guy in his apartment, and he had a bunch of superhero posters.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
It kind of showed him going through his daily life over and over again, and how media was like influencing him.
Every day he kept seeing every day news on his social media.
Stormfront would be like just saying, watch out for those super terrorists, and like, you know, we got to take out all those super terrorists and stuff. And then he starts like going a little nuts, like a little bit
just getting paranoid,
a lot of fear going through his head. And he's like at some convenience store he goes to like every day. And one of the days he was there, like it looked like a car drove by, like as soon as like the cashier looked up or something, that made his eyes flash weird. You know, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
It also kind of made me think like, oh, maybe he's a soup, or maybe it was just a car that drove by. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it could be
like,
either one.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it could have been nothing. It could have meant something.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like, you know, probably just a car went by. Anyway, that dude noticed it, and a couple more days go by, and he comes back, and he like pulls out a gun and shoots that cashier. So, I mean, obviously it's a huge commentary on the way media kind of forms our fear today and drives people to taking action in certain ways. You know,
I think just pointing out people with poor life circumstances themselves. You know, he was taking care of his mom, who looked like she was like catatonic almost or something. You know, he's going to work every day. It's probably really stressful for him, or class or something, you know, taking care of his mom and doing this at the same time. And then meanwhile, you know, his escapism on his phone and stuff is just constantly, you know, like we talked about in the social dilemma talk, how it's so biased. And then whether you hate that feed or you love that feed, if you're looking at it long enough, it's going to keep throwing the same exact stuff in your face.
Yeah.
And it's going to make you angry and reactive and emotional instead of planning your things out. So I think it was really like showing like how people will externalize some of their anxiety through social political issues, and then make it happen in the real world, which is happening all the time now.
And it's super scary.
Yeah.
It's super scary because, I mean, this cashier was just probably this innocent guy that didn't do anything wrong.
He seemed like a nice guy to him.
Seemed like a really nice guy. And
whether he was a soup or not.
Yeah, I think he like asks him like, "Are you bulletproof or something?" Before he shoots him.
You bulletproof, mother lover?
So yeah, you can kind of find a lot of truth, or whatever you want to call it, in that sequence there of what people go through with the way social media kind of makes people form certain opinions. How social media kind of makes people bias and polarizing too.
Yeah.
I think there's something to take away from that, and just the fear that the news media can create. Also, kind of the way Stormfront was preaching. I don't know about you, but obviously there's a direct correlation to Nazi Germany. But it like reminded me of the way like Hitler would like speak to the crowd, at a rally or something.
Yeah, and to me, it was a very overt political sort of look to it. What I think Trump. I mean, the fact that she was like, "Let's make America safe again."
Yes.
I have nothing wrong with them trying to make that statement. I didn't feel like it was. I mean, I felt like it was like a little too on the nose. It kind of brings you out of it. But if they want to make that point, fine. But the only thing for me, though, is it didn't make sense because at the beginning we saw Stormfront more as like an SJW sort of, Snapchatting all the time, and like she was even at odds with Homelander, who was like supposed to represent more of like the conservative thing. And all of a sudden she's done a whole 180.
Yeah,
And,
but
like,
she's been a Nazi for years.
yeah, but I just mean, like, how is no one like how does she have a fan base
Yeah.
though at this point? You know what I mean? Like, or
Well.
did she just completely switch? I have no idea.
Well, what do you think would happen in the real world if, I know a lot of people compare like some of like the super liberal characters to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Mm.
You know, they're kind of left-wing politicians in today's world. So what do you think would happen if someone like her, who's got like some avid followers, if she all of a sudden started to say things from the opposite side of the aisle? Would do you think that mob mentality would just kind of flip for many, many people and just be like, oh, I agree with her because I've been following her for many years? I hope not.
I
hope
think
people
you're right.
would be like, I would hope people would be like, wait a minute, you know, you're changed on us, you know.
No,
I no
but I think
longer,
you're right.
but you know,
Because people, like,
there's a
in
big
their
mob
sort of,
mentality thing.
yeah, their factionalism sort of way of thinking. It's, you know, it's always us versus them, even if we do the same exact thing, as long as we say this. So yeah, but and that's that was a big point I felt like throughout the season though. So yeah, I guess
It could be.
I don't really have a problem with that scene then.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking more about it, but that was just something I was thinking in the moment. And then just the fact too that they, you know, they're working on the 7, you know, movies and all that stuff, and how that's typically more, Hollywood is more liberal. I was just like, well, this is clearly a more conservative thing. Wasn't there any? But I'm glad they didn't get too lost in the weeds about that. But
Yeah. But I think, you know, Stormfront just knew like the times and knew that she needed to get like young people on her side.
yeah, it was.
And so she kind of went that route. She knew she needed to use social media to its full potential to like,
Yeah, I
raise her
really
status.
liked how her character sort of showed that, you know, you can manipulate the system. You know, is if you just get enough people behind you, you get a. She said, you know, I have soldiers. You know, you have fans. I have soldiers to Homelander. So it was cool. But Homelander too, he never really felt like he was part of like the white supremacy side of things.
No,
I feel
no,
like
he
he
didn't.
just liked her, and he liked Soups being in power instead of Vought and all that stuff. So
I feel like Homelander's going through some inner turmoil this whole season. And it's cool to see. The whole thing, like with his son, seems like sometimes he's like trying to be a good dad. And we'll talk about this more in 8 because it really hit us hard.
yeah,
And then there's the things with him. Like I think in this episode, this is the one where she says they go and visit his son, right?
yeah,
Is it in this one or in 8 where she's
yeah.
like
They take him away in this one.
they take him away? I think it's in 8 where she says, you know, white. What does she say? Like
White genocide.
white genocide.
Yeah, yeah. When he
That's
it's
an
the
8?
next one. Yeah, it's
Okay,
the next
okay.
one. When he's teaching his son how to use heat vision.
And they're using a deep doll, a little deep action figure.
He's like, think about something you hate, and he's like, I don't really hate anything. And then she like immediately goes, well, there's a lot of people out there that don't like white people, and it's called white genocide or something like that. And even Homelander kind of looks at her like, what the heck are you?
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's into that. He's like,
I really liked Stormfront too. I mean, to me, Anthony Starr, anytime he's on as Homelander, he's just killing it.
he stole the season, I think.
Oh my god!
My big takeaway is Anthony Starr has an incredible range of acting, from, you know, being angry to like he's gonna kill you, to being a good dad, to being hurt. He showed me kind of everything this season.
And
menacing,
just a weird, creepy, messed up person.
Yeah, he does creepy really well, like really kind of a
Oh,
weirdo,
gosh.
especially last season with like early this season with Doppelganger, and last season with Madeline Stillwell.
Yeah.
The whole mother stuff was
No.
super creepy.
We'll still
This
milk
season,
this season.
Yeah, but when he was on screen, man, was he like a presence? Like
Mhm.
Stormfront in this episode said something about how she had a daughter one time. And how her daughter's like 90 or something.
Mhm.
And
Daughter died, I think, recently.
Daughter died. And so Homelander is like, I got an idea. Let's go see my son, make you feel better. And I think he just wanted to show him off and stuff. And
Yeah.
so they show up, just having Stormfront there in the background at that house with Ryan and his mom, and she's freaking out because she knows like this is not good that she's here.
Mhm.
And they're pretty much trying to discredit everything like she's teaching the son. Like, I think they're playing like Lego Blindside or something. Is that what they were doing? Was it the Blindside with Legos?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh no. He was doing movies. Yeah, he had made movies with
he made movies
like Lego Blindside and
yes,
other
yes.
things.
And Stormfront's just like, what?
So it was really cool though, because Homelander, especially in episode 8 too, like you could tell he genuinely cared about his son. You know, in the beginning, it seemed like he just wanted him to be a superhero, and you can even see in these 2 episodes, especially in 8, when his son starts to be overwhelmed by
I love
the crowd.
this. Yeah,
and he recognizes it, and he gets him away from the situation and everything.
Yeah, he takes him right out of there. And probably against Stormfront's wishes. She didn't look super happy that he did that.
Yeah, she gave him like a face.
It was kind of cool because it kind of seemed like Homelander was trying to appease her a lot.
Yeah.
So he did the right thing for his son. And then he had like a super awesome heart-to-heart with him about like
how like he grew up.
Yeah,
and
I wanted to cry. I cried too. And he's like, "You cried, Dad?" And he's like, "Yeah." And
then he was like, "But I'm a man, so not in a long time."
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to teach you. Nobody taught me. I'm going to teach you." And I was just like, "Okay."
I know.
Okay.
I really liked it. But so back to 7 though.
Yeah.
We were talking. So that's what they're doing. They've got Stormlight in prison. They're trying to Starlight. I'm combining 2 of their names together. And
Huey and Lamplighter are watching
Huey and
movies.
Lamplighter. Yeah, they're watching movies. Eventually, because they see, they do eventually look on the TV. Huey switches the channel.
Yeah, and like Lamplighter's like, "I'm gonna light you on fire" or something.
Yeah. And then he sees Starlight she's in prison, or she's locked up. So he asks Lamplighter, how do we get to her? Where would she be? And Lamplighter, says he's probably in this secret prison in Vought. And so they go to break into Vought. It was also really funny. They had like an adult film like role talk with each other too. Like Lamplighter's like, "Here I am just sitting. I'm the cuck. I'm the cuckold." And then Huey like says all these things
deep.
about it.
So deep.
Like, after like trying to like self-disclose.
So yes, and you feel so bad for him because he's like, I'm the cuck. And when you like Lamplighter looks at him, you just think he's gonna say something wholesome, and he's just like, "Nah, you're worse than that." What does he say? He's like,
"You're the cuck fluffer."
You're the cuck fluffer. What a moment!
Oh my god, it was hilarious. And then too, when they decide to actually go, Huey tells him, we should go and all that stuff, and he's trying to get him pumped up, and he's like, "Do you want to be the cuck, or do you want to be the guy that bangs the wife?" And he's like, "I want to bang the wife."
Yeah.
And he's like, and then Huey's like, "Yeah, let's do it consensually, of course." And then and then they break into Vought, and it's
so easy. Yeah.
And,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They were using like his passcode, his old passcode and stuff, and they didn't change it. So, no alarms went off or anything. But you'd think they'd have like some surveillance or something.
He was like, "Oh, we have this back way. We used to sneak girls in here." And like, it was kind of funny. But then I was also just like, this is like the indestructible fortress of like, it's supposed to represent like corporate and but also physical and just being indestructible because there's superheroes in there. And it reminds me of like the Joe Rogan joke when he's talking about the White House. He's like, you ask anyone what sort of security the house has. There's a sniper.
They got snipers.
There's a button where
people in the trees. Yeah.
And like, that's what I always thought for Vought. And then they just kind of
turns out no. You just walk right through the front door.
Yeah. And then they break out. They like just get out and they're fine.
Wow. They almost didn't. I mean,
they almost did it. But I mean,
so they do get in there and they find Starlight. Well, first of all, Lamplighter
just burns himself.
Yeah, he's like, they took my statue down. I wanted to do it in front of my statue. I thought he was going to kill Huey. I was like,
I thought he was either going to kill Huey or start to pleasure himself or something. Is what I was what I thought.
Especially after what that happened earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
So he burns himself. You'd think a guy with that superhero would be like inflammable or something, but no. Turns out no. Huey's freaking out. So then he goes on the mission. He tries to find Starlight.
He finds her mom though first.
Finds her first.
And
Starlight was able to like absorb the energy from the alarm system, I think.
Yeah, the alarm went off
the
door
off herself.
Yeah. And then she fights Black Noir, and I love the fight because like she's doing great, but Black Noir is just kicking the crap out of her. I love seeing Black Noir work, you know.
Yeah.
And then eventually though, Queen Maeve shows up and just gives him his kryptonite, which is an almond joy.
Almond joy. We've been seeing the almond joy all season long, and like, how is this going to be significant? So Black Noir's weakness, he's got a nut allergy.
I think I saw somewhere too that the real actor who plays Black Noir has a nut allergy.
Seriously.
So they just kind of worked that in as his weakness.
And they just like had him choreograph a fight, and then they just shoved an almond joy in his mouth.
He was like, how am I going to end this fight though? And they're like, oh, don't worry.
Don't worry, we got it planned.
We'll end it for you.
Yeah.
We'll end it for you.
I trust you guys. No,
and to me, Queen Maeve is like the Eagles from the Lord of the Rings saga, like the movie saga, as far as like what they did in The Hobbit.
Yeah, she became that.
They just start like coming in whenever the heroes need a save. The Eagles. Oh, that was Queen Maeve this season.
Totally.
So here's the first time she just sort of shows up, saves the day. Then later on, we get
a couple times in episode 8.
A couple times in episode 8, and but then eventually though, Huey and Starlight and her mom, they get out, and again I was just like they just get out. Like Black Noir was the only guy. Like maybe you could count Queen Maeve then too.
She was supposed to be on their side, yeah.
Yeah, so you had maybe 2. Like you don't have like this army of like guys with like Vought guns or anything. No, you can just get out after you beat the one boss. So just like,
yeah, that's crazy. So
eventually though, we get to see too. There's a really cool scene with Butcher, so they go to the guy who sort of like raised Homelander.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw, and he's sort of running a lot of Vought behind the scenes, or used to.
Super well off, huge mansion, gated entrance.
Yeah. And the CIA lady, she goes to him. They're trying to get him to testify because Lamplighter burned himself after Huey and them get back. But Butcher had already paid him a visit, and it
threatened like everyone he knew.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
It was. A great scene. He says he's like going to kill, I think, was it his daughter or something?
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go in there and bash your daughter's brains in his New Zealand Cockney accent.
Yeah. And then she comes and brings them like tea or something. And he's like, thank you.
Yeah. He just like
looks at him. So that pretty much convinces him that he's going to testify, which is huge for the boys. This is like the big ticket. This is going to do it.
Yeah. Also, too, when they were talking, Butcher ends up hearing about Homelander's past and how like he was sort of raised at a distance, and it was very tough for him, and he started out a sweet kid but grew up mean. And we found out from Butcher's dad too at the beginning of the season that was kind of Butcher's upbringing,
because we meet Butcher's dad.
Yeah,
and he's also from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he is,
which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad though. He wasn't the Rohan king.
No.
That would have been kind of funny, I think, if they brought him in.
Mm-hmm.
But they had Gondor's king.
Steward.
Gondor's steward. So maybe they just should have cast like Sean Bean as Butcher instead. And then
Sean Bean couldn't pull off the same menace and.
No. I know
you're kidding. I'm just. I know you're kidding. I'm just saying.
Carl Urban is the best. I mean, he's the best. He was born for this role.
Oh yeah. So
it was really funny to see another Yeah, and
They,
he
like paralleled each other though. Their back stories as far as they were more sweet kids, but their dads sort of made them into the tough, violent people they are.
So it was cool to see that scene. Like he resents his dad,
Yeah, and then
his mom had to trick him into coming over.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to throw him off the balcony. I really thought he was going to throw him off the balcony.
I was 100% sure after he started insulting his brother that he was getting tossed. I was like, "You're getting tossed." So then the plan is to go ahead with that guy for the trial.
Like by the way, we've been getting to know the senator more.
Mia Khalifa. Senator Mia Khalifa.
Yeah.
The sports talk show girl.
Yep.
She talks sports. That's where I know her from.
That's where I know her from. What's her name? Is her name Newman?
I think, yeah, Senator Newman.
Senator Newman. So she seems like a good, solid politician. And so she's at this trial as well. And so the trial's going on, and the boys are watching it from home. And like everybody pulls up to their spots. And I think Grace Mallory's there as well. I think.
Oh, yeah, Mallory's there.
And Homelander's there. Stormfront's there. Huge trial.
Mm-hmm.
And so here comes Homelander's like kind of dad. And here it's about to come. They're about to ask all the questions. And then pop.
Oh, my God. This was wild. This scene was wild.
I think it was the judge's head first.
I think it was,
or was it the guy testifying?
I think
first?
It was the guy testifying. The ex.
I don't remember which one was first.
Executive guy.
But they both ended up popping, and then just around the room, pop, 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 pop,
heads splattering on everyone. People like sliding on the head material and stuff. And
Senator called brains, Steve. They're called brains.
Well, there was cerebral spinal fluids in there.
Cerebral spinal fluid, a little blood, and skull fragment.
So there's a lot more brain stuff.
Fine,
brain stuff.
But yeah, so it was crazy. Just like popcorn in the microwave, pop, 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 like going off. And they focus on getting Newman out because they're really worried about getting Newman.
And she looks terrified.
She's terrified. Oh, I don't want my head to explode. Grace Mallory is like being super heroic. Got to get you out of here. Homelander is like looking around like,
I know him and Stormfront are just like walking around like, what is going on?
Like they actually have no clue how this happened.
Yeah.
I thought at first like somehow Vought had found that girl from the prison.
That's what,
and used her because she did that to a guy.
Well, first I had a few theories. I thought it was her.
Yeah.
Either acting on her own, like revenge against Vought because she was in that prison. Or I thought it was Juan Carlos Esposito's character.
Yeah.
I thought for sure. I was like,
I thought he ordered that. I thought he had that girl do it.
Well, I was also thinking, well, maybe that's why he was introduced as the big bad executive guy this season, is because he actually has the most powerful power anyone has. Head blowing up.
Remotely blow. Yeah. That's easily the best power you could have.
I was like, well, then that makes sense why they brought on this great actor who we haven't really seen too much of this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's kind of still a mystery a little bit.
Yeah, he didn't really do much.
Even after season 8. Yeah, I thought he was going to have a little bit of a bigger impact. Maybe season 8 he will.
Yeah, so spoilers for 8 if you haven't seen 8, but
let's get into 8.
We're going to talk about some 8 stuff.
That's how 7 ended. And they just showed Butcher just realizing like it seemed like all hope was lost. That was like their last.
Their reactions when they were watching it, like all the boys like, oh, like was us like oh, like, and Butcher just like gets up and he's just like, oh my God, like,
yeah.
So, but we do find out then Newman at the very end of 8.
Oh my God, yeah,
it was her this whole time. She's the head popper.
Huge twist.
Did not.
I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't see that coming at all. So that was a pretty good twist.
Yeah, and it was really cool too how they set up at the end, like what her role is going to be, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool that she used that. But I thought for sure that it was after we didn't see that the girl escaped from prison. We didn't see her at all that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it had to have been her.
I thought so.
And then I was like, oh, and then after we didn't see her, rather, I mean, I didn't think it was her. I thought it was her in that episode, but then after we saw 8, I thought for sure it was Juan Carlos Esposito's character.
Yeah.
Because I was like, he's been just chilling this whole time, letting things happen. And he's, they brought on this guy to be this character. Like, it's got to be him who has this power.
Totally.
So I was kind of like, well, why do we have him as this character who hasn't really been seen much? They could have just got like any unknown guy with a little bit of gravitas to play that role. You know what I mean? So hopefully they do something with him more next season. Because I was just kind of like, what? Like, he didn't really do anything.
Yeah. So
to me, too, it kind of punched some holes into like, why did he want, Stormfront on the scene? Because it seemed like he knew about her racist Nazi past. When he was talking to the Church of the Collective guy. So I was like, if he already knew that, like, why did he bring her on?
A lot of question marks with him.
Yeah, so I don't know, but like he eventually admitted like he let her go because of Compound V, and the fact that she was, after Compound V was known, now she was using it to like make people want to use it, so that was good for their business essentially. So like, all right, well that makes sense, but why did he bring her on initially then? Why did he instate her into the 7 when Homelander didn't want her? So that kind of punched some holes for me, but whatever. Anyway, though,
I agree.
We start out though with 8, and Butcher's wife escapes from her giant fake prison like super easy, like just gets out.
Hey, don't mess with a mother when she's been separated from her child, man. Don't do it.
She just gets out though, and I was just like, why didn't she escape with her son before, her super son? Even though she doesn't want to admit it, the super son. Like,
it was just,
she could have like,
maybe she just thought it was
her.
She didn't want to put her son in danger and stuff. And
you can throw him off a roof and he's fine. Even if I wanted to like deny that for him, like after I would have saw that, I'd have been like, well, like I can get out of here. I'll just hold this kid as like my human shield, and just if people are shooting at me, they'll just hit him and I'll be fine. I'll just bring his face into mine. He won't know what's going on.
Dude.
I don't know. But she gets out so easy. And then she finds Butcher so easy. She's just like, I heard you told me you were in a shop.
Banging on the door.
You told me you were in a pawn shop on the east side. So I knew it was this one.
But I love how the boys treat her when she's there. They're just like so nice to her. Like Frenchie's just in her face. Like Huey too. Huey just like stares at her like smiling. It's kind of, I don't know. It's funny. It's like, wow, you actually like fell in love with Butcher? Like, that's crazy. We've heard so much about you.
You're just looking at her in awe.
Yeah. So we get this episode. Basically, Stormfront and Homelander have taken the boy, and she's begging Butcher to help get him back. Butcher goes to Giancarlo Esposito's character and like tries to make a deal with him
to get this son away so he can keep his wife.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like he's going to betray his wife.
Yeah,
in that
so
meeting,
that it can keep Homelander in check. Is blackmail.
Yeah,
because blackmail works for everything this season, which we see even in the finale.
So that's the thing. So when I mentioned earlier that like it was kind of a little bit of a letdown, was because they just kind of used blackmail again at the end. It just seemed like all season just been blackmail, and I get the point is that blackmail is like powerful, and I'm sure they're trying to make him send a message with that too. But I wanted Butcher at the end to do something crazy.
I wanted a big thing. So let's, we'll quickly glance over some things here.
We'll get there.
Eventually, the boys figure out where the son is. They distract Homelander. They start to get him away. A big fight ensues. And then the end, when Homelander ends up showing back up, just covered in blood.
Oh, my God. So this scene.
This was awesome. And I was like, what is going to happen? And the wife just died. Butcher's wife died. Stormfront got turned into Anakin at the end of episode 3. And and his
my
son
God.
is like traumatized now. Butcher's like coming. He's like gonna take the crowbar and take it out on the kid, and Homelander
Because the kid
shows up.
like instinctively used like laser vision or something to kill. Because Stormfront was doing that. Like, I want to see the light leave your eyes. I like to see it.
Yeah.
After she was stabbed in the eye.
She only had one eye.
She only had one eye when she was doing that. So yeah, so the kid like instinctively was trying to protect his mom, and in doing so,
Fatally wounded her.
And so Butcher's like, you think he's going to take it out, but then Homelander shows up, and the kid kind of goes to Butcher for protection. Butcher's like got the crowbar, and I'm just like, this is pretty cool standoff right here. Like, something cool is going to happen. Maybe Butcher's going to get it. I don't want that to happen, but like, or maybe Butcher's going to come up with something crazy that we never even thought of. But what happened was Maeve showed up and was like, look, I got this video. You better stop or I'm going to show it to everybody. And it was just like, I didn't want a blackmail ending like that.
It was
kind of anticlimactic, I thought.
As it was happening, I was thinking something else big was going to happen. Because, like you said, I wanted something big. I wanted, like, either Homelander's son to, like, laser beam his dad and, like, hurt him enough for, like, Butcher to maybe whack him, maybe even kill him, maybe even kill Homelander. Not that I wanted Homelander to
I don't
die,
want Homelander to die. He's like...
But I thought, like, something big like that was going to happen. Or even Homelander might kill Butcher, or Homelander and his son were going to break away.
I thought it was going to be epic. I thought it was going to be epic.
I thought it was going to be epic too.
And it wasn't. It was just kind of Maeve showed up, and
yeah, but
it's like, they had that thread earlier that she had that video, and they hadn't used it yet. So,
but even after she showed up, then I was like, well, this is gonna be her death. I was like, this is her signing her death ticket here. Her going, here's the blackmail. Here it is in my hand. Maybe she has it stored on a OneDrive or like in an email ready to be sent.
It's on the cloud.
Morning.
It's on the cloud.
Maybe, but I was like, Homelander's going to laser beam that and just break her neck. I was like, that's going to be the big twist then, since nothing happened between Butcher and him. No, he's just like, gives up. She's like, no one will ever love you. And that's supposed to like, you're supposed to like know that that's like Homelander's.
That's the biggest thing for Homelander. Yeah, is to be loved by like all. And so. Because
he doesn't have the parent, he didn't have a healthy parent and all that stuff. And, but I was just like, what? What? And this is the third time Maeve shows up as the Eagles. And then the second time is when she showed up during the fight, which was
so that fight was
awesome.
epic. That fight was
awesome.
epic.
That was awesome.
Stormfront shows up while they're trying to get away with the plan. So basically, Butcher had the plan to betray his wife. Kind of teaming up with Vought to get the kid and stuff. But instead, he's like, I couldn't do it. Let's just get away. I want you guys to get away. And as they're driving away, Stormfront, boom, just shows up and just starts zapping stuff. They had like showed this like super cool kind of anti-soup sort of bazooka gun that Frenchie and Mother's Milk had made and stuff. And I was excited to see what that did, but Stormfront just blew it up.
They had a whole car full of like RPGs and that crazy gun.
I wanted to see that. I wanted to see that.
And they were like, not enough room in the budget. No.
It was a pretty big explosion though. But basically, you're just thinking at this point, oh, they're screwed. All they've got is Starlight, Kimiko. That's not nothing, But so far against Stormfront, they haven't been able to do anything against Stormfront.
No.
And then the boys
like
are pretty much
Homelander.
The boys are pretty much useless because they're just shooting her with guns, and she's just taking it. But anyway, we get a cool fight between those two, and Kimiko tries going after her, and Kimiko gets messed up by Stormfront, and she gets her neck snapped. And I was kind of like, Kimiko's dead?
Damn.
Kimiko's dead? Turns out no. One of her superpowers is to be able to unbreak her neck and just hop right back in.
But I was like, this is big. If they kill her, like that's a big, huge.
But they didn't. And again, Maeve showed up to help kind of win that fight.
She was like, she just showed up behind her and she's like, hey, you Nazi bitch or something. And just, and then they start playing like some like punk rock music. And then they just start like just kicking Stormfront on the ground, basically.
Basically. And then Frenchie says,
it done.
Frenchie goes, girls really do get it done. And that's what you're thinking. Now, this is how girls get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
This is how
gang
they
up
do it.
on another one.
Oh, Jesus. But anyway, basically what happens though is that Stormfront still gets out of it. I mean, she's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was kind of funny was that, she just fought off 3 soups, and then she went and was going to try to get the son from the mom there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just like, I stab.
I know. Basically, like Wonder Woman is wailing on her and even
Yeah.
kicking her while she's down, and she's fine. But then, Mom, knife to the eye.
Knife to the eye.
It
So
goes
easy.
in.
So easy.
Like, all right, well, I guess the eyes aren't bulletproof.
How come nobody thought about that before? Epic fight scene before she goes after the son.
She gets there and she starts choking the mom, and Butcher's just wailing on her with the crowbar. And it was intense. It was intense.
Yeah. But let's go back to the scene where Homelander finds that his son has been taken by Butcher, or his son's not there. He comes back to his little cabin where he's keeping his son, and he overhears like one of the intercom, like one of the radios.
He sees the SWAT guys in there, and they say, Butcher, where are you, Mr. Butcher, or something like that.
Yeah, where are you, Mr. Butcher? Like, is
And he
Homelander
says-
there
he's
or
like,
something?
oh, Butcher.
Yeah, so he comes in and he's like, did you guys say Butcher? He shuts the door. He's like looking kind of calm but menacing. And he just lets out an epic, where is my son?
Well, then they
Yeah.
hear on the radio, like, do you have the kid,
Yeah.
or do you have a son, or something like that? Then that's when he says it.
And he like just lasers a dude in half.
Just-
But when he's closing that door, it's like the most intimidating thing ever. 'Cause
I know.
You just know everyone in that room is going to die.
Oh my God, it was so good. I'm getting like chills just still, because I mean
Just
it's a room full of probably like ex special ops guys in SWAT gear
that just
and like bad mammer jammers, and they're in there just like, what?
we're
can
all
you
dead.
do?
We're all dead. And so we don't really get to see what he does in there, except for lasering the one guy. So that's up to your imagination. But then when he walks out, just covered.
Like soaking
It-
wet, like in a
So
pool.
he didn't just laser these dudes. He went ham in there.
Mm,
I'm imagining him just like ripping dudes.
I know. I kind of wanted to see like him rip
I
a
know.
guy in half with his bare hands, because
I know.
we only ever really see him use his laser vision, which like I guess if you had that, you would probably just use it all the time because it's so.
That was way
easy.
more efficient. Way
Like,
more
you're just
efficient.
sitting here, you're like, oh, laser beam, like
Yeah, he could have just been like, zoom.
Yeah.
Just one head turn, and problem solved.
But I wanted to see like what was going on there. What questions was he asking? Like just like, and then what did he do? Like,
Oh,
not that like
yeah.
I like to see people get tortured or anything, but just because it's like Homelander and Anthony Starrs killing it, like
Yeah.
I wanted to see it.
Sometimes in movies, sometimes it's better to leave it up to the imagination,
yeah,
Because
it's
I do kind of have a picture in my head what happened, even though I didn't see anything. Like,
Yeah.
I just imagine just savagery in that room.
Yes.
And, because you hit him at his core. You took his son. He loves his son.
Yeah, it was a
And-
great scene with them after his son did get overwhelmed. He gets him out of there. He brings him to the cabin. He's like even afraid to like go in and talk to his son, but Stormfront like eggs him on in. He goes in there. They have a nice talk, like we mentioned earlier, and then
Yeah.
we even see them. They're watching the news later, and he's like drinking milk with his son, just chilling, and they're like, I was like, man, I want this. I want this for him.
Man.
They
Yeah,
make each other better, I think.
they do. Yeah.
Because, like, let's be honest, her son is, if she kept raising him that way, was going to be just as weird.
Yeah. She was too extreme.
Yes.
She was too extreme.
He was like, do I name the state? I like to name the states alphabetically.
In
and then
alphabetical and geographical order.
what is geographical order? Left to right?
I know.
Like, what do you get? What do you do once you get to like the upper northeast when like all the states are like partly in each other?
Yeah, just jagged and
Who's first? What do you do with Michigan?
know.
Oh my God.
we've been thinking about that ever since we heard it. We've been
I
trying to figure
can't
this out.
unthink it. What is that? What does that mean?
But yeah,
So he was going to be a weirdo, and I was like, well, it's great to see them. And then in the end, after we just said Homelander, he shows up, and when his kid went to Butcher's side, I was just like, but why? You met him like maybe maybe half an hour ago at most. And most of that time they were just like running. He saw him trying to defend his mom, I guess, but I wanted to see him get coaxed over by Homelander, and then the two of them just leave. And you're just like, next season we're gonna have Homelander and Son as king of the planet.
God, I still thought that's kind of how the season was going to end, where Homelander just snapped, and I think they're setting that up for season 3 because. At the beginning we said, things kind of seem the same at the end. The things that change, the boys are free. The boys can do what they want now.
Yeah.
No, they're not. So that's a big thing. The mom's dead. The son is kind of in protection with the CIA. And even though everything looks the same with Vought, like Homelander's there, Stormfront's gone. But she wasn't there in the beginning of the season. She was introduced. Now she's gone. So, and Maeve and Starlight at the press conference at the end, it kind of looked like, it's the same, but then they zoom in on Homelander, like on his eyes, and you can see he's like going insane.
I love Homelander's shot at the very end.
So this was a deleted scene from season 1. I read.
Really?
Yeah, they cut that out of season 1.
And I don't know how I feel about that then.
They put it here.
It was funny. But when you were talking about the press conference, it was great. He's saying all these things, but they're just zooming in his eyes, just intense, whining music, and just
that's the thing about Anthony Starr, man, is that
his eyes look like menacing and just dead inside.
You can read so much just off his face, So the way he just to the way you could read his eyes at that moment, you just 100% understood, what's going on in his head. He's about to snap. He is about to get rid of all this corporate stuff, all this media, and just rule the world with his powers. That's what I think. That's where I think it's going.
No, I hope so. And it was just really funny then he was just like, I can do whatever the hell I want. And he's just...
What was he doing?
Pleasuring himself
on a skyscraper.
On like a skyscraper, like
a Batman
or
Superman kind of. Yeah,
in the Christopher Nolan series when Batman's just standing there, but Homelander is just whacking it, and the moon's behind him. I thought we were going to see like some sort of like fallout essentially from that.
I thought so too. I
bet you they did actually film that too. If this is the deleted scene, I wonder if they actually had that too, and they were just like, we can't.
Too much. No, they don't. No. I don't know if they know what too much is.
I don't know, man. But, after that hospital episode with that guy who could strangle people with his big John, I don't know.
Oh man. But so, Homelander's going snap. He's going insane.
And we had already talked about, they reveal Newman then as the head popper, and it's
crazy.
And this is, to me though, this kind of also made some things for me go like, well, what was the point? Because then
with the Church of Collective
guy,
the
head who's the cult leader. So I essentially that
I thought they were gonna have a big role. I thought they were gonna have a huge role.
Yeah, and he. He says he's got so much dirt on Vought, so he'll be able to control them, and he'll work with the senator, Newman, who just got elected to this position of like the soup or the Vought regulatory committee or something like that, something that government institution is going to now regulate.
Yeah.
And after he says that, his head gets blown up, and you're just like, what? And then you see her standing outside, and it's just, what?
Yeah.
But then it kind of made me think, well, then what was the whole point of the collective?
Yeah.
In the season?
I was wondering that too.
Because I was like, to me, that kind of felt like it was just like the
comedy relief.
Yeah, the comedy relief. And then somewhere to put the Deep, who's kind of useless, I guess. So they made a useless plot for him.
That was a funny moment in 7 when like Deep was, they were like at some party or something, and the head guy comes up and he's like, you guys know the what's his name, the Eagle guy, and Deep is like, oh yeah, he's a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
And then he's just like, He said something really bad about him, the head
He,
guy.
like he betrayed the church. Don't talk to him or anything.
And Deep's immediately like, oh yeah, no, hate that guy.
Yeah, screw that guy.
Screw that guy. Yeah.
But then, and also too, another thing too with the collective. So that to me, I was just like, well, what was the point? And then A-Train, who was part of the collective, just to get back into 7, he ends up getting back into the 7.
Yeah.
And one thing too is he found the file on Stormfront from her Nazi days, and he was the one that uploaded it and sort of like
he's the one that gave it to
the upheaval of her.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he gave it to Starlight and Huey when they were driving.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like he's like, oh, I got it, and here it is. You know,
Yeah.
it was like that's kind of easy.
It is. He did explain. He was like, I want
we're
back in the
even.
7, and I can't without her there. Without Stormfront there, so I need her gone.
Yeah.
So that was his reasoning, but it was just kind of like, well, that's easy for them to get that info.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway, that's that helped bring down Stormfront, and I loved like the series of memes, Stormfront memes of her as a Nazi and stuff. Was hilarious.
But also with that, then and it was funny then too when he gets in, and then the Deep doesn't get in, and he's just like, "What the heck? Like, I signed over my bank account. I married that weirdo," and like,
yeah,
and you're like, "Yeah, it's maybe next year," you know. So I'm just like, well, like now, like, what's he gonna do? And so the Deep to me too, like I felt like his story, like you said in the first 4 episodes, I felt like we were going somewhere with him.
yeah.
And then we didn't really this season. He was comic relief.
Comic relief, man. He brought a whale into it. He made
was
it
great.
possible for Huey too, and Mother's Milk to sit in a whale for a little bit.
Yeah, and he did the Gillette commercial and
Talk to his gills, which was just so uncomfortable. Oh my god.
But so those things to me, I was just like, well, what was the point of that being in there? Like, and then, so then I kind of also then it ends with, and it was really cool. It made this point, that basically, whether you're trying to do the right thing or not, like you kind of work for the same corporate people who might have their own agendas of power and stuff, because Mia Khalifa, a senator, ends up Newman ends up being head of that regulatory committee or whatever. And she's funding the boys who are going to keep doing their boys things. Huey, who says he wants to do things the right way, also goes to her though, and is also working for her. But then we also see that she's a soup, and she killed a bunch of innocent people just to get into power. And I also wonder, like, either is she a soup that just wants to get into power, or is it sort of like that scenario, like how we even talk in The Social Dilemma, how I kind of think that those guys who are turning on the social media, who helped create it, and like we're also pushing for like government regulation. How I said there, I think they want to get in on the government regulation and run it.
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of what she did. But I also wondered, like, is she working for Vought then? So like, does Vought want the person who's regulating them to be someone that they control? You know what I mean? Because she blew up the church collective guy for saying he has dirt on Vought. And I was like, well, did she do that so she doesn't have a competitor with controlling Vought, or just so that there's no outside influences on Vought, because she's there to really help, like, pretend that she's this front against Vought, but really work for them. And that also made me think about my Social Dilemma then, what I said about the guys who want to be on that regulatory committee. I was like, well, then does that mean they still work for the social media?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I think they're pretending that they don't because they know.
So are you saying that you think all the people interviewed in Social Dilemma can explode people's heads?
Yes.
Okay.
That's essentially what I'm saying.
Okay. But no,
and
I
that
agree.
they used to work in the adult film industry. Yes. So that's what, like, the end to me, I was like, well, that's cool. but I can also just see
Mhm.
that plot not going anywhere.
So the other plot that was kind of destroyed was the whole getting Vought out into the world.
Yeah.
Because of the info that came out about Stormfront with her being a Nazi, then Edgar goes out and says, look, we're not going to, put this out. We didn't know she was a Nazi and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that whole plot is like gone now. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like, unless she comes back as Darth Vader, she's not dead. She was just muttering German, like Anakin Skywalker muttering. I saw a great meme, dude, though. I saw a great meme. I might have sent it to you.
Was it the Anakin Skywalker one, you mean?
Yeah, where Stormfront's like, you underestimate my power.
Yeah. She might. And apparently I saw somewhere that what she said in German, she was just talking about her time with her husband Vought when they were like at a lake or something. That's what she was talking about.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So it was just like,
how do you
something
know
beautiful.
that?
It was on a YouTube video.
You speak German secretly? I didn't know this.
Nine. I mean, no.
Yeah, man, that's
So it's pretty wild, but I can also see season 3 like not taking that anywhere. Maybe like showing up in the first 5 minutes and they're like, we have a different plot, like we're going with that,
yeah. So it went a little different direction than I hoped. Like I said, overall though, pretty good season. Do we miss anything else from 8?
I don't think anything big.
Yeah.
Where do you think 3 will go then?
Like I said, I think it's going to have to do with Homelander is going to snap at some point. Homelander is going to become the ultimate like bad guy to everyone. Like he is going to try to rule the world.
That's what I thought we were going to get this season with the superhero army.
Yeah.
But I still hope we get it.
But he doesn't even need that. Like I feel like he just needs. He's the most powerful one.
Yeah. And now that they're not going to be making more soups with Compound V, they're not going to be injecting random people.
If he can like overcome if he can overcome his constraints of needing to be loved by everyone, I think this season was really him realizing that he doesn't need all these people in his life.
Yeah, that's why the end to me felt like I was like, what? Because he told Doppelganger when he killed himself that that I don't need to be loved or something like that, or he said something along those lines, and you're like, oh, like he's gonna be off the chain, and then at the end, it's still
back on the chain.
Back on the chain.
He's on the chain.
So that's again why I didn't like that.
So that's where I see it going, though. That's where I see it going.
That's where I hope it goes.
Kind of surprised that no one really besides the wife, who I feel like we just got to know this season, and I didn't love Butcher's wife as a character.
She was kind of whiny with her kid, and she didn't reciprocate the like unconditional love that Butcher had for her. Yeah. I'm not saying they should have had like a toxic relationship. I'm just saying they're like, this dude has been working for her like since she has gone missing.
Yeah.
And we still never figured out. Like they say at
still
one
don't
point
know
that she was raped, but like the video we see from season 1, she goes into his room like on her own willingly.
Still could have been rape.
It still could have been rape, but what was she going there for then without Butcher? You know what I mean?
It just seemed that she was like super flirtatious with Homelander in season 1.
Exactly. So that was something too they never hit on, and to me, like I still love the season, but the end of season 1 really made me think.
That was such a good ending.
We were going somewhere else. I mean, you even see the kid though. So there was a few things real quick. This from the end of that, we see her there with a kid at a house. She's fine. She's alive. Butcher thought she was dead. We ended up seeing that video how we just talked, that she wasn't raped or anything, or not that she wasn't raped, but she went to Homelander willingly, sort of leaving it ambiguous whether she was raped or if it's consensual. And then we see the kid light up his laser eyes in front of Homelander, in front of Butcher. And I was just like, so this kid knows he's a soup. He recognizes his dad, maybe? Like, yeah. So does she like Homelander? Did she raise him? And then that didn't happen, though. And so there's a few things I was just like, oh, the wife.
Because this season it was as if like the kid didn't even know he could do that.
Yeah. So I hope that they really think out where the next season's going to go, and they really stick to the plot points from this one, and really keep a clear path is what I want.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise,
Otherwise it was good. I'm really glad that we got a second season. A-Train's back in the 7th. I don't know if I like that, but Deep is right where he left off. He's kind of lost. He doesn't even have the collective anymore. The collective was not what I expected. I thought the collective was going to turn out to be this huge foe. Like
I thought they were going to be like the Sparrows from like Game of Thrones. Remember that religious fanaticism that sort of took over?
Yeah.
I thought that was going to happen. But otherwise, we good? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
so, please, thanks for listening, and please subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And we'll have more coming out soon. Last Kingdom fans, we got our book talks that we're going to be doing soon, and we have our season 3 talks that are long overdue. They'll be coming out soon. Also, we're going to be doing some Mando soon. So
yes,
Mandalorian action before season 2 comes out, which we're so excited about. Also long overdue. Otherwise, anything else, Steve?
Nope. Just make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on podcast, and comment what you thought about the season. What did you think about what we said? What were your theories? What did you think of the ending? Let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, adios.
Bye.